Okay, great. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's session hosted by shiksha.com. My name is Simrandeep and I lead the Study Abroad website and counseling team. I also have my colleagues Bhaskar and Lakshmi with us today. Um, so, today's session is about arranging education loans during the current COVID lockdown situation. As you know, we're living in unusual times. Our country has been under lockdown since 24th of March, and most establishments are closed or there is some restriction in kind of movement. And many of you had already planned your journey and now are finding it difficult to arrange your education loan. So, what we've done is we've spoken to our partners and we've brought them together here on this call. And all of you have submitted a lot of questions. So, we've gotten up close to 100, questions. We've categorized them into buckets, and we are going to ask all of those questions to the panelists. You will also have the opportunity to kind of ask more questions by typing on the window side in the comment section. So feel free to do so. Let me start quickly by introducing our panel today. So we have three distinguished guests. First, we have Chandni Sehgal. Chandni heads the marketing and channels at HDFC Credila. Credila is the largest private study abroad education loan provider in the country. And Chandni has been working with them since 2010 and has received multiple awards like the 100 top most influential business leaders and India's top 100 women in finance. We welcome you to the call today, Chandni.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be
Then,
there.
sure. Then we have Mr. Dhaval Patel. Dhaval is the head of product and channels at Avance Financial Services, which is an NBFC dealing with education loans. Dhaval also has a lot of experience, 16 plus experience with the BFSI sector. Um, and he's earlier worked with IndusInd Bank, HDFC, ICICI, and other top players. Welcome, Dhaval.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Chakravarti. He is from the ICICI Bank. He is currently regional head for North, East, AP, and Telangana regions. He also has about 15 plus years of experience with some of the leading banks and 8 plus years specifically in the education financing domain. Welcome to the call, Chakravarti.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let me start with a one quick introduction to Shiksha Study Abroad. Most of you might be knowing about us. We're the largest study abroad website in India. In the last 12 months, we've received 17 million online visits, 192,000, which is 1.92 lakh students, active students. And we also have an online counseling service. 350 plus enrollments have happened in the last few months on the counseling service. So, what are the topics that we will cover today? Um, Largely, we'll cover what is the impact of the current situation on the study abroad loans, and a lot of factors. What are the factors that banks or NBFCs use to decide whether they want to approve a loan or not? What is the process for applying for a loan? How does the disbursement happens? Any ways to fast track, and a lot of open Q&A towards the end. So let me start with the first set of questions. And let me start from Chandni first. Chandni, a lot of students have written to us related to the current situation, how is it going their plans of getting a loan. So, how has the current situation impacted the loan process at HDFC? And do you see any change or delay in the lending requirements due to this situation?
So yes, I think the current situation in itself has brought out a whole lot of questions from the universities and students' point of view of firstly figuring when the course is going to begin, if it is going to begin now, later, are there going to be changes in the term that the university is offering, what is going to be the format in which the course will be starting off with, will it be a combination of online and then further moving into a regular mode, or would they just postpone? So I think firstly there are many such questions which are slowly getting answered. The good news is that the information that is coming from various countries on this seems to be more pro student. There are information on visa, on stay period that we are getting. Whatever bit is coming in, everybody seems to be working around it together as one to see how they can really make this work. Different countries are going through different situations, so obviously the loan processing also that would happen would be based a lot on what and when the countries rule and their regulation on visas, stay period, work permits, all of that, and of course starting would happen. But what HDFC Credila is doing is continuing the process. Yes, we are all under lockdown. Our team's working out of home. And within this process, we are encouraging students to come to us, talk to us, apply to us online, have their loans processed, because I don't think people are going to stop going for higher education because of this. It is a matter of time, and different time for different countries, where things will slowly start coming back to normal. And at that point, you would need to start exploring your finances, figuring it out. A loan would play a very important role in that. And why not use this time when you are sitting under lockdown to actually put your documents together? We've actually opened our channels up completely to accept applications, to process applications, and it's best to clear your doubts, talk to us, understand how loan and finance works. We absolutely open for it, and we encouraging students more and more to come to us for the same.
Right, right. Thanks for that answer. Dhaval, same question to you. How's the situation at Avance? Are you guys lending? Is it, any, do you see any delay in the lending happening, any change happening?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of at Avance, thankfully, we are placed where, we
Can
have
you speak a little bit
a
louder?
whole.
I think your voice is a little low.
Sure, sure. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, better.
Yeah, yeah. So, as I said, the first thing what we did once the lockdown was announced is we put a whole BCP plan in place as to how we will work from home and where there will be minimal disruption for the student community, which is our customers and the channels. So, from till date, we have ensured that all our tranche disbursements have happened on time. We also launched a special product called emergency loan for a selected few students who had enrolled after, let's say, 2018, who will still be studying. We have also given them wherever the student requires and he is eligible for the sanction within the limits. We have given in a one-off loan by minimal documentation to be precise, just email confirmation. Coming to the new disbursements, we are counseling students whose sanctions are with us. We are reciprocating, conveying to them as soon as the time passes and when there's a clarity. Whenever you need disbursement, we will do it seamlessly in a digitally planned way. And if the lockdown opens, then as per the normal process. So Avance is open for disbursements. We kind of have, as I mentioned, we had a whole plan in place as to if this happens, how will the disbursements happen. So our operations team, our sales team are all working from home. And as soon as the request comes, we process it and the amount gets credited in the account. We have not got many new requests for new disbursement because, as Chandni rightly pointed out, there is some clarity awaited from countries. Students have to kind of decide they'll get their visas, but we are open for disbursements as soon as the student meets the criteria, which is he has a visa in place, his admit is confirmed, and he wants to go.
Right. So that's good to know. So let me now move over to Mr. Chakrabarti. Mr. Chakrabarti, you work with ICICI Bank. You know, banks are supposed to be essential and they are supposed to open. So any change of due to the current situation that you're seeing at ICICI Bank, And also students are asking, RBI recently reduced their rate. Does that have an impact on the
Right.
rate that the students are getting lended at?
Coming to your first question, yeah, we banks form part of essential services. So we are open. Our branches are open, though there are some changes and in the timings of the operations. And there are initial lockdown was something pretty new, to the entire world. So we had little challenges, some delays in collecting documents from customers are unable to move out of their place to come to a branch and submit. There were little issues, but now what we have done is, we are all our teams are accessible on phone, and we have started a digital platform, where people can upload their documents and their loan sanction process takes place. And we are doing in principle approval, basis their basic, documentation, like eligibility check and all. We are doing it. We are also facilitating a sanction letter also on a digital platform. This is one solution we have found out. Coming to the uh, RBI rates. So first thing I would like to highlight is the moratorium what RBI has announced for 3 months, and we have successfully implemented that. So whoever has chosen moratorium, we have implemented. On the rates part, yeah, there was reduction in repo rates. So yeah, that we have also altered our rates. I know the current rates are based on the repo rates as well as the operational cost as well as the cost of funds. So there were some internal, calculations. There were a bit little changes to our rates, and we continue to offer our very special rates. The rate starts from 10.99. Now earlier the rate was around 11.25. There was a reduction to the students. The discount has been passed to students.
Okay, that's great to know. So the simple answer to this question is that the rates have been impacted. So for the students who were asking whether they have been impacted, the answer is yes. Okay, let me now
Yeah.
move forward. Um, Many questions have come asking for what factors go into deciding if a student will be given a loan. So now let me first go to Chani. Chani, how does HDFC Credila assess the candidacy of a student? And obviously, the parents are also involved. Some co-signer is also needed or co-applicant. Can you just talk through the high-level factors that are considered?
Yeah. So, firstly, there are multiple factors that we assess while disbursing a loan, while sanctioning a loan. The core part, of course, to begin with, is the student's academic background, his score. Your score plays a very important role in this. The other factors that come into play are what country you're planning to study in, the course that you're planning to go for, of course, the quality of education based on the university you're choosing, the course you're choosing, the employability. All of these things are looked at. In addition to this, for you to avail an education loan, getting a co-borrower on board is a mandate. So the co-borrower profile is also checked. What's interesting is that at HDFC Credla, we allow a fair amount of flexibility on getting the co-borrower on board. In most places, you would have mostly only parents allowed as co-borrowers. There is flexibility here of getting other blood relations on board, so that makes it easier. The third bit, which is not always compulsory, is the collateral. There are many loans that HDFC Credla does, which does not need a collateral. But there are times when a collateral becomes a mandate to come on board, and we convey that to the applicant at that point. Sometimes it also helps in getting better rate of interest because of that. But so this is primarily how this works. So it's an overall assessment. We really don't believe in one size fits all kind of a solution for all during evaluation. We look at every application individually and then evaluate how this is going to proceed in terms of the value that will be sanctioned and the rate of interest and other terms along with it.
Right. So multiple factors going into assessing a student's profile. Let me now move forward. Um, 100% loan cases, people having previous loans. So, Dhaval, question to you, is it possible for a student to avail 100% loan, or some amount of must be borne out of their own pocket?
So at Avance, you can hear me, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So at Avance, we have the concept of 100% loan. Each lender will have its own policies. We do give the entire cost of tuition fees plus cost of living as a loan amount, provided the student meets the criteria of credit criteria of Avance. So, for example, if student is going to a college which is pre-approved with us, he has a good GRE score, he fits into all other norms, then we wouldn't look at even the co-borrower financial papers. At Avance, we have has Chandni mentioned there's no one size that fits to all. So if the student is brilliant, we may not take the co-borrower financial papers. We may want a co-borrower mandatorily, but we may still give a loan without a collateral depending on his academics and the employability of his course. So to answer your question, we do give 100% of tuition fees plus cost of living, but it will depend on the course, the credit parameters. If the student meets it, we would give that entire cost of funding. If not, then we would ask him to kind of put his some amount of money, because the limit is decided as per the course category and the country where he's going.
Right. So, what you're saying, in some cases, it is possible. Typically, students who are going to very good universities and a very high profile, this is normally done. But in every case, this is not possible.
Yeah, so in most of the cases where if the university and the tuition fees meet the internal criteria, so for example, I think if I have to give you a number, around 70% of the cases what we did last year, we did fund tuition fees plus the entire cost of living. The remaining 30%, the students would have to pitch in a little money or their own, or there were also cases where the student did not want the entire amount. They kind of wanted only a certain amount of loan and the rest they had it.
Right. So 70% is a fairly large number.
Yeah.
Understood. So let me now go to Mr. Chakravarti. Uh, Students have written that some of them are already having a student loan or they had a student loan in the past. Does that impact the loan approval process? And if it does, in what way?
See, if it is, if not only student loan, whatever loans form part of the appraisal process. So we check the obligations, we check the the repayment track, and they form the part of the appraisal process. Yeah, hope it
Okay.
is clear.
Right. So it does have an impact because the credit score will get impacted because of that.
Correct. Not only education loan, any loan for the matter is taken into an obligation.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Now let me move forward. Okay. Let me give you a quick update to all the students. Many of you might be knowing this. All students can apply for an education loan by filling a form on the Shiksha site. So many of you are right now struggling to get started. How do I start with an education loan? Which provider should I contact? So we have a simple solution. You just fill the form. Your details will be shared with our trusted loan partners, some of whom are sitting in this call, and their team will give you a call back. So it's a very simple uh, process. It just takes you 2 minutes to fill the form, and you will start receiving calls from loan providers. This is the link that you need to visit. Okay, many questions have come around collateral. Probably this is one of the most common questions that we've received. Uh, so let me start with Chandni first. Chandni, is you've mentioned a little bit though, but for further clarity, is collateral mandatory or can loans also be available without collateral?
Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, uh, a collateral is not always compulsory. There are multiple loans that HDFC Credla has done without any collateral security, covering the entire cost of education, which includes tuition fee, living costs, sometimes even airfares, other mandatory things that you would need for your education, even laptops sometimes, and things like that. All of that is covered without collateral for many. So if the profile of the student is very strong, we overall look at that, and many students get to avail this without a collateral. However, sometimes, like I said, it becomes mandatory for you to add a collateral on board. It is not always necessary for you to have a collateral which equals the value of your loan, but we sometimes do need an add on collateral, and it comes in handy during your loan evaluation process. So, we usually suggest to the applicants to declare if they can give a collateral, because it helps us evaluate this a little better then. There are times when we don't get information, and then we prompt the students and their parents to let us know if a collateral is available and what that would be. And then we try and work around that. So, to answer your question, no, it is not always necessary for you to have it.
And also, if you can share that in what cases, like how do you decide whether a collateral is needed or not?
So, a collateral basically is a security that you are giving to a financial provider who is giving you a loan. So, if you are going to pursue a course where it gives a little add-on confidence to the loan provider to assess your application and to give you a loan. So sometimes it may give you a higher value of loan. So it's not necessary that you will have your loan declined all the time. Supposing you're getting 10 lakhs, but you need 20. Adding a collateral security may help you get a add-on loan, because as per your other documents and profile, maybe you are eligible only for lesser. So overall eligibility, because of the security coming on board and giving a little more security to the financial institution, you can get either a higher chance of having your loan at all or a higher amount of loan. It helps both ways. And the third aspect is also in sometimes getting a better rate of interest because you've added a collateral on board when it is needed.
Okay. So even the rate of interest gets impacted by whether collateral is shared or
It
not.
may sometimes it may sometimes get impacted, and we declare when there are situations. So we give all the options in a very transparent way to the applicant so that they can evaluate then as to what they need to do.
Right. So now let me go to Mr. Chakravarti. Chakravarti, does ICICI Bank
Yeah.
also lend without collateral, and if so, in what circumstances?
Yes, yes. Yeah. We do have no unsecured loan option. We can fund up to 40 lakhs. Up to 40 lakhs, we can fund loan without collateral security, and with collateral security we can fund up to 1 crore. So these unsecured loans are based, basically based on per, based on some category of institutes. We have categorized the institutes across India and international. So we, based on the institute categorization, we can fund up to 40 lakh rupees. So beyond which, another feature what we have is, suppose a student wants, have a smaller collateral with a lower value, or they want a loan, let's say above 40 lakh. So we ask for collateral only for the additional amount. So 40 lakh we give unsecured, and beyond which, if the student is looking for, let's say example 50 lakh, if they have a 10 lakh rupee worth collateral, so we can fund entire 50 lakh rupees.
Okay, got it. Now,
Hope it is clear. Yeah.
so a similar question to you. Do you have an upper limit in terms of how much you can give without collateral, and what kind of collaterals are acceptable and what kinds are not acceptable?
Hello.
Yes.
So we don't have an upper limit in terms of funding the student. Obviously, the sanction committee process changes. So if the loans are above 1 crore, there are different people who access the credit parameters, assess the loan, and but we have still funded loans which were more than 1 crore, especially for bachelors. The loan cost goes as high as 1.5 to 2 crores because that's a 4-year loan. Uh, uh, in terms of secured unsecured, it will depend, as I said, on the profile of the customer, the university where he's going. Up to 40 to 45 lakhs unsecured loans we do offer for the students who really deserve in terms of where they are going their academics. Collateral would make sense if the student wants to bring down the interest rate. and in some cases we would require collateral as an add-on to the case, where our credit team would like to do the case only basis the collateral.
And also, if you can share what kind of collaterals are acceptable and what kind are not acceptable.
Yeah, so self-occupied land, in terms of commercial properties, Avance does accept all kinds of collateral. Agricultural lands are not accepted. Properties which do not have a clear technical legal in terms that you cannot mortgage the property would not be accepted by Avance.
Okay, got it. Let me now move forward. Okay, so this is a question which is also a very, very popular question. I know it's not possible to give a one size fits all answer because every student case is unique and the rate of interest also depends on many other factors. But since so many students have written to us, I wanted to ask this question to our panelist. In terms of the range of interest, so don't give one specific number, but what is the starting range until what maximum rate of interest does it go? So maybe let me start with Mr. Chakravarti here, and then I'll come to Chandni and then to the.
Yeah, at ICICI Bank, we revised the rates. What recently what we revised, the rate starts from 10.99%. That's a start range, and the maximum rate goes up to 12.25%. This is the range.
Okay, so from 10.99 to 12.25.
Yeah.
Okay, Chandni, would you like to say?
So we are currently lending between a range of 10.5 to 12.5%. And so that's how it currently stands. Of course, there are multiple factors that go into play, and which is why we talk of a range. And I'd just like to add on that it is better today that companies talk of a range and not one rate, because that also goes to show that there is a evaluation which is happening on a case to case basis. Otherwise, you're trying to fit everybody onto one number and trying to decide whether and if you can give a loan. So anybody who gives you a range is actually going to probably evaluate in a better way for an applicant.
Right, right. And also to add on to what you're saying, let me also remind all the students who are listening that the interest rate is not the only thing that they should be seeing in a loan provider. There are many, many other things that they should be looking for. So just going with the
Yes.
cheapest interest rate is not the right way to go forward.
And if I may add on to that, a very interesting aspect about an education loan that not everybody is aware of is the tax benefits. So, when you are evaluating a rate of interest, it is very important for an applicant to ask the loan provider that can you give tax benefits or not, because not everybody is allowed by the government to give tax benefits under section 80E. And tax benefits plays such a huge impact. I mean, people know of home loans, for example, to give fantastic tax benefits. Not many know that in education loan, the entire interest amount you can get tax benefits on. So just to explain that better in number terms, if you're getting a education loan, for example, at a 11.5%, and if you fall in the 30% tax bracket, which most applicants do, um, your technically your education loan is at 8.5% odd. And what is cheaper than getting a loan at that interest rate? Because you have to look at the overall picture of what you are gaining or what you're spending on your loan. So this is a critical aspect for anybody to check on from their loan provider, whether they have the certificate to prove that they can give the tax benefits or not, like HDFC Credla does.
Yeah, I just want to add one point to what Chandni said. So that's pretty important factor. Income tax benefit for the co-applicants who repay the loan. So what I would suggest all those who are watching this is kindly go to our ICICI Bank website. There is a calculator we have made where you can actually calculate the effective cost. What will be your effective cost rather than only rate of interest? You can actually calculate the effective cost that you're going to pay. That's it. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Okay, so it seems Simran connection got disconnected, so we will be back in a minute.
Yeah.
So, Dhaval, do you have something to say on this?
No,
The tax benefit?
I think, yeah. So two, three things. One, obviously, in terms of interest rate, we do have a wide range, starting from 10.5 to 13.5%, depending on the
Your
student.
voice is. Yeah, can you speak louder, Dhaval?
Yeah, I said depending on the student, there is an interest rate range where the students can apply, and depending on the credit profile, the student, his GRE scores, the interest rate is decided. So we have a differential interest rate pricing for all, and I think what is important, as rightly pointed out, is two things: you see the service, you see the turnaround time of the loan. Because as for what we have experienced is, though the loan tenures are for 10 years, most of the students end up paying within 3 years of their studies. So what is important is how is the service, how fast you get your loan, and how much of the amount which you require has been kind of sanctioned and disbursed. Because no student in our kind of assessment over the past years, except around 10 to 15% of students, rest all will repay their loans in 3 to 4 years once they have a job internationally. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Dhaval.
Okay, right. So I'm back. Sorry, I think I had some connection problem. Thanks, Bhaskar, for taking it over. I'm moving to the next set of questions, which is related to, when should a student start applying for education loan? What documents are needed? So let me start with Chakravarti. At what point should a student start thinking about an education loan?
Yeah. If you ask me, the right time is the time when they start applying for the universities. The moment they decided their studies, international studies, they should start applying, looking for the loan. They must start doing the research on education loan at the time of identifying course, college, and country. This is the right time because lot of universities, no, you need to show them an authentic fund proof to secure an admission. So it is ideal to apply before, and as a from ICICI Bank we facilitate loan sanction before admission. So this is actually a right time where they can use the sanction letter as a fund proof to secure the admission from their dream college. Yeah.
Okay. Shani, would you like to add to it? Is this similar for credit or some differences?
Yeah. So this is a very important question that you're asking. Firstly, I'm audible, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a very important question because many years back when we used to receive applications, it used to be after the admission letter was received, the I-20s from the US as they call it, or admission letters, and it is only after that that people really applied for loan, figured their finances, and it was way too late to do that. So in fact, HDFC Credila was the first education loan player in India to change this entire process. And we were the first ones to say, let's not do this late because it becomes like a chicken and egg situation where university is asking for proof of funds, and you coming in applying only after your admission letter is declared, after you've shown proof of funds in a very, very difficult way. And many were unable to even show proof of funds. And if they were, it was not in the most ideal way because you have to keep aside a whole lot of funds in your bank in liquid funds, break your savings, and then show proof of funds. And it's not easy for many to do that. Many were also dropping plans because they thought they did not have enough funds or were not going to be eligible for loan. So you're not even applying to the right university basis that. So we changed this whole chicken and egg situation and we said, let's start getting applications when you get your scores in place when you know which university you'll apply to. And let's start from that point so that you are aware at that stage that you can get a loan. How much will that be if you can get a loan? Because if there is a gap, then you have sufficient time to also plan to put that money together. So you do not run around in the end, or you don't get any shocks on the finance side, at least in the end. Also, over a period of time, universities, I think, have started appreciating the fact that there is a financial provider who is giving guarantee of the money coming into them. So there's a lot of high acceptance of a sanction letter as a proof of funds that goes into play. Also, at the time of visa, that same letter helps a lot. So the minute you start early, and HDFC Credila starts getting applications as early as 8 to 12 months before, and it's not because the loan process is long. It is only because the process, starting your process early, helps you, gives you peace of mind, helps you plan better, helps you apply to the right university, and use that sanction letter also as a solvency letter later to show that as proof of funds. So we suggest that students start early. We understand that many of you here are applying for fall. And if you aren't, if you're looking at it even for a spring or even a year later, it is, and if you've got your scores in place, this is a good time for you to start the process with us.
Right. So the advice from Chandni is clear that you should start the process once you get your scores. It's important to start early rather than start late. And also, one other important point which many students don't know is that if you have your funds ready, then it helps you in terms of your visa application as well. Okay, so now let me go to Dhaval. Dhaval, what all documents are needed for a student to apply for a study abroad loan?
Sure. So, two things. At Avance, we also have a facility where, let's say, the student wants to get the sanction loan before his admit is confirmed. So, we have a titanium product which says, okay, look here, you give us the 5 or 6 list of universities which you have applied, and basis that, if this is the amount we can sanction, we let you know that, this is the sanction letter, provided this is the universities you are going to get an admission into. And then if you later change on, we also change on, increase the amount or decrease the amount depending on which university you have got your loan to. That kinds of relieves the anxiety of amount even before your admit has come, just basis your GRE score. In terms of documents, although the documents would differ from application to application, the standard documents are your KYC documents, your GRE GMAT scores, your academical documents, your proof of residence, and similarly KYC and proof of residence for your co-borrower. Income documents of co-borrower would be the standard documents from a student which are required. And then if we require, let's say, if it's a secured case, then the collateral documents, or if some other document where we have seen some transactions, we may ask for the same. But otherwise, these are the standard documents.
Moving forward, next is in terms of the minimum required for starting the EMI to get charged. This is a question which is very clear, and on case-to-case basis,
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Your voice is breaking. Yeah, your voice is breaking.
is it better now?
No, I think there's a bandwidth issue. If you want to switch off the video and then talk.
Okay. Let me just ask this quickly, then I'll read it. And if you can hear me, the question on the slide is what is the total time taken from start to the end for an education loan? And let me start asking this question to all the panelists. So let me start with Chandni and then Dhaval and then Chakrabarti.
So the application process is actually not very long, contrary to what many believe. Once you apply, and the process is also really simple. So I'll talk about both time and the process. The process is also really simple. So how it works is with HDFC Credila that once you get in touch with us and apply online, our team gets in touch with you. and assigns a relationship manager to you who comes to your home. So it's actually a doorstep service that we provide, who comes to your home if you're working and you prefer them to come to your office. They come and meet you there to explain the product to you, to explain about education loans, to even pick up your documents that may take 2-3 times that they may need to come to you to help you complete that. So all of that assistance is given. Once the complete application comes to us, which is your complete set of documents, it takes about 10 days to max 2 weeks, depending on if there is a collateral in place, for us to process this. And when we say this, it's not that loan processing cannot happen in a shorter time. We've done it in shorter times than these. But this is a safe time for somebody to usually estimate for a loan process to take place. Uh, there are many times that we've had students come to us and we've had to do it in shorter times, but and that is also not the reason why we tell you to start early, because the loan process time is actually just about this much with all these conveniences built in. So this is how it works.
Right. Dhaval, what's your answer to this?
So at Avance, as I said, we can turn around loans, if all the documents are given in 3 days flat. So as our forte is customer customization and student as the fulcrum of loan sanction. So let's say if a student has a good GRE score, and depending on that GRE and the university is going on, and we don't take after a certain level, we don't take co-borrower's financial documents, because we believe that if the student is good, uh, it is his income which will repay the loan. So we can turn around the loan in 3 to 4 days. In cases where it's a secure loan, the technical legal valuation may take some time depending on where the property is, how clear the property is, but that would take around 7 to 8 days, working days, depending on the entire set of documentation which is given to us. Again, we have a sales force across Pan India. We have 8 branches and rep offices covering almost 14 locations, and we do loans across 150 plus locations. So if it's in within the serviceability location, our person will go collect the entire document, give him the sanction letter, which is a scanned document, and then the originals can then be given when the customer comes for the signature signing of the agreement.
Right. Uh, and Chakravarti, for ICICI Bank, what's the typical processing time, and can I get an education loan without even having an offer from a university?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me be very frank on the timing part of you. Let me be very open. So usually the committed time, what we tell to our customer is 15 days. But our process, our systems are designed to do it in much faster. Because we always try to over exceed the customer expectations. So we have especially ICICI Bank customers who are having relationship. Their documentation is simpler, so we can do those loans much faster. Those having home loans, we can use the same, we can take the same collateral security, no need to give another collateral security. We have 5,000 plus branches, so the reach is very easier for customer even to approach us to get the relevant services. And coming to the overall tag, what we actually commit is 15 days, but this really happens much faster because the forex, the remittance, the travel card loading, everything is within ICICI Bank. We don't have any vendors, we don't depend on any vendors. Everything is bundled. The customer, the student gets everything in one shop. So that's the edge for ICICI Bank. Coming to the, already highlighted that the students can apply to us, before getting their admission in hand. Once they decide on the colleges, we have a specialized product called, sanction before, admission product, where based on a test scores we can appraise the loan and we can give a sanction letter. Just they need to tell us the name, give us a list of universities where they are applying for. Yeah.
Okay, so that option is also available.
Yeah.
Understood.
And we have a pre-approved again, ICICI Bank customers, whoever is having fixed deposits or banking relationship, we also have a pre-approved offer. I mean, they get a pre-approved loan. No need to, the documentation there is very minimal, because they document their details, their compliance is already there with us.
Okay. So yeah, so a lot of
Yeah,
factors go into deciding how much time it will take. For instance,
absolutely.
if a student needs a collateral, so if the bank asks you for a collateral, then obviously the time to give you that loan will increase, because the bank or the NBFC will have to go and validate the collateral. And so, but as our panelists have said, there is a range of time. ICICI said if you already have a relationship with them, then the timing will be less because your record is already with them. So it depends on a range of factors. Okay. Moving forward, I'll ask Bhaskar to take over for the next few slides from here, please.
Hi, good evening, all. So, I'm Bhaskar Kaushal, so I'm responsible for Shiksha Study Abroad Counseling Services. So, quickly, I just brief you about how Shiksha works with the students. So, we are one of the first on website which offer online services, counseling services to students, and we deal with most of the countries, or you can say major of the countries like US, UK, Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, France, and Germany. And to add on, all our services for students are free. So our services include shortlisting of universities, then helping them with the editing of SOPs, LORs, then the mock interviews, and the visa counseling. We do assist students with applications. A student has to submit the application at their own by paying the application fees. Also, looking at the scenario as of now, the lockdown, our team is working 5 days a week. So our office timings are 9:30 to 6:30, and all our counselors are on phone calls, and they're uh, just an email away. If you have any doubts, you can always get back to us for your queries. So the loan disbursement timings we have, I think we have to discuss now. So, so my question is to Chakravarti from ICICI Bank. When does the disbursement start happening? In what way the money is paid?
Yeah. See, the loan disbursement, usually happens in most of the cases after securing a valid visa. Okay, it all depends on country to country. So we have designed our process, we have customized it based on the institute and the student's requirement. For example, we also do pre-visa for countries like Canada, Germany, Australia. These countries actually, one need to supposed to pay the college fee and demonstrate funds, living expenses in their account as per their visa process. So for such cases, we disburse it before visa, where most of the public sector bank doesn't do. But we have understood the customer's requirement to help them, secure their visa faster. We are disbursing them before visa, based on the requirement of the institute and the college. So how the funds get transferred is usually, as I told you earlier, we have our own remittance because we are a bank. We do remittance directly. No need for us to take a help of a vendor. So the remittance happens on the same day of disbursement. It happens to the college. The fees is paid to the college. And what we do is the living expenses, we load it on a travel card, ICICI Bank student travel card, where again the student travel card has host of benefits that they get, a free insurance coverage. They also get, luggage, insurance. They also get international student travel identity card. So these are, our own products where the living expenses are loaded onto the travel card. So this is how the disbursement happens.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, though,
yeah.
Mr.
Welcome.
Chakravarti.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah.
So my next question is for Chandni from SDFC Bank. When do students have to start paying back their EMIs?
So the EMIs, there is a standard process that is set in there as to when the repayment basically starts. So how this works is that the student is given time till he finishes his course and 6 months grace period before the EMI starts hitting in. However, we encourage students to start paying a small interest amount from the beginning because this helps you reduce the amount of money that you need to ultimately pay back, because this comes in a very small amount of a few thousands, gets you habituated into the process also. And that's what something that we really encourage students and parents to start doing. Many students at that point are not earning, and that's when the parents also sometimes step in and start paying this initially, because in the overall load of paying later, I think this little amount that goes initially helps. uh, but as a standard, yes, your repayment starts after your study period and a 6 months grace period that's given.
Okay. So what is that minimum amount you said? Can you just explain in brief?
The minimum amount is just the simple interest amount, because there
Okay.
is a whole principal amount plus the interest amount. So if you pay just the interest amount, it comes in a very small amount that one would need to pay on a monthly basis.
Okay.
That's what we encourage students and parents to pay in the initial few months once the loan disbursement is taken. Also, another important aspect is that you start paying back. There is a full amount that you need to take. So your simple interest is also firstly initially only taken for the amount of loan disbursement that you've taken. You will not take the whole loan disbursement right at the beginning. So it starts with small chunks. Um, and another way of understanding a loan repayment is when you are availing a loan is to check from the loan provider whether they are going to, how they are going to calculate this loan. So you can have the loan interest amount calculated on the entire chunk or on reducing balance. It's important to check whether the loan provider is actually going to do this calculation on reducing balance, because it helps you save up to 5 to 7% on the entire amount by the end of it. Not every loan provider does that, so that's an important question to ask. It helps you calculate your own loan repayment also later, the amount of money that would start hitting you in form of EMI.
Okay. So it depends from bank to bank.
It depends from financial organization.
Okay. So my next question is for Mr. Dhaval. Is there any moratorium on interest?
We do offer partial interest payment option, which is 2,000 rupees per month or above, just to kind of be in touch with the student and the co-borrower. So it's like as good as a moratorium, and this can range between 2 years to 3 years, case to case basis. For international students, we do offer around 36 months of this kind of repayment, where he only pays 2,000 rupees per month, and the EMI starts after that. So this takes into account two things. Obviously, there is a certain amount of delay in completing the education, and also, for example, every student has a dream job, right? And this is what he wants to do. So generally, he may take a time of 4 to 5 months to find that job. We give enough time to the student so that he can pursue his career ambition, and he can get as to what his dreams are.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dhaval. Uh, Tax benefits, I think we have already covered, and three of you have already shared your views on the tax benefits. So, Simran, we can move on to the next slide.
Okay, sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so this question is really important in the current situation. So I would like to ask all our panelists, what advice would you give to students who are desperately trying to arrange a loan in the current situation? And some of them are also asking whether there is a way to fast track because the deadlines are pretty near. And so let me start with Chani. Uh, Chani, what advice would you give to students right now?
So, firstly, I think as a loan provider, we are all set to process your loans, and our teams are working out of home, like I mentioned earlier, and we are accepting applications. We are in fact asking students to apply. disbursements are happening wherever they're being asked for. So those who are planning to take their loans forward, because not every country is in the same situation, not everybody is going through the same thing. There are people who would have deadlines to meet because they can join their courses, because they may be also being started in an online format, and therefore they need to get started. Everything is functioning full swing. That way is at the HDFC Credla end. There are people working from home processing it. And So, is there any way to fast track? Um, like I said, the loan process actually does not take a very long time. If you have your documents in place, um, and if you still haven't applied, yes, you should start applying online. Share the soft copies of the documents. You need to ultimately give the hard copies of the documents to us. Fortunately, now we've come to a stage where I think courier services are opening up, and providing documents even in hard formats is not going to be difficult. So we are making this process really simple, fast, in the way that we're giving you decisions by receiving your documents online. Ultimately, there will be a point where we would need the hard copies, but I think we've fortunately come to a stage now where that process is also not difficult to complete. We are completing requests for disbursements basis this, even now.
Okay. Chakravarti, what advice would you give to students?
Yeah, I just want to repeat the same, or throw some more light. So, what my advice to the students is, please start. If you are, it depends on what stage they are. Suppose you are in a, evaluation stage, means maybe you are planning for the, fall or the spring. You are just evaluating, still evaluating, or waiting for admission. You check your eligibility. We have dedicated RMs, education loan RM separately. You can contact our RMs, or you just apply on a website. Our RMs will contact you. We can do eligibility check based on your profile and whatever documents. Two, if you are waiting for your admission or I-20, or admission confirmation, you can apply with us digitally, and we can provide you the in principle sanction letter, which you can use as a fund proof. Coming to the disbursement, our branches are open. Okay, we are, because we are part of essential services, we are, approachable, though we can't come go to the customer houses to follow the lockdown. But as a bank, we are open. Customers can approach us, and we are disbursing. We are already, uh, uh, designed a contactless kind of a, process, where students can already, fast track their applications with us. So this is what my advice. Go ahead. You chase your dreams. We are there. We have actually aligned our processes. So that is what my advice.
Right, that's a good advice. Dhaval, what would you say?
So I think in such times, everything is important. First, have clear goals as to what you want to do, country which you are going to, the university, what are they offering? You want to do online, or you want to do in spring, or you want to go to in fall, but how things are going to kind of shape around. Financial, I think, as my colleagues have pointed out, my fellow panelists have pointed out, that doesn't take too much of time if your papers are right. But having said that, there is no point in doing it late. So if you have kind of made up your mind, put in your papers, we'll give you the sanction. And let's say in case you need to postpone the decision due to the macro factors, speak to a lender, right? Speak to a lender, say that look here, I'm going to kind of postpone it, make the sanction valid for extended time. At avance, we do all these things. So if the customer comes to us and say, look here, I plan to go in spring next time, can you do this, and will I have to pay processing fee once again? We said, look, no, that's not kind of, we're not here to make money from your processing fees. You have paid your processing fees once, your sanction is there. We will take some few document checks when we have revalidate your sanction after 6 months, but you're good to go. So we can engage with your lender and go and do it fast. Is as my fellow panelists have said, that's what my advice is as well.
Right. A lot of students are asking real time questions. So We will come to it. Siddhant, Pushkar, Bagul will come to your questions. More people can write your questions in the meanwhile. I'll make sure I'll just quickly move over to the next set of questions. So, the current situation has also impacted a lot of students who are already studying abroad. And maybe their parents, when they sent them abroad, did not take a loan. And now, because of the current situation, their business is also impacted to some extent. And some of those parents have also written to us. So Chandni, if a student is already studying abroad and now wants to take a loan because of a family situation back in India, is it possible?
Yes. And this is not just about COVID-19 impacting us. I think this is a process that we followed for many, many years now. There are students who we find who go and pursue education and don't take an education loan to support, and later realize that they do need one for whatever reason that may be. So in cases like those, we take the documents. Like we said, even now we are processing loans in the form of soft copies. Ultimately, you would have family here who will be able to process and give us, hand over the documents to us, meet us at least once to be able to help us take the process through. So yes, you can apply. You would have your parents there in a particular city. Our teams would coordinate between you sitting in another country and your family who will be based in whatever city here where we have offices, and help you process that loan. So it is possible for you to do this.
Right. A related question has come from Siddhant Jain. It's a live question that has come. He's written 3, 4 questions. So let me ask Chakravarti. So Siddhant is saying that so I am currently working at London on work permit. I am not in India and I am not able
Yeah.
to come back to India also. How can I apply for loan? Can my father handle everything as per the current situation? It is difficult for me to come back. I already have an account, salary account with ICICI Bank.
Yeah, Mr. Siddhant, yeah, it is very much possible. And you can apply for a loan with us. Your father will be co-applicant. You can authorize your father to sign on your behalf. At the same time, your KYC can be verified. Thankfully, ICICI is having UK, branch. So you can contact our UK branch as well, or for the KYC verification. Yes, we can process.
Okay, that's good to know. Moving on to the next question. We're coming almost to the end of our presentation. So, as some students might know, there are many different um, kind of players in the market today who are offering. There are private banks, there are NBFCs, there are public sector banks, there are also some international players who give loans in foreign currencies. And students have written that how do they compare? Like, so while all of you represent one constituency, if you can just, take a step back and, advise the student from more of a neutral standpoint as to how should students think about whether they should pick a public sector bank, a private bank, or NBFC, or they should go with an international player. And let me start with Chakrabarti, and then I'll come to Chandni on it. Chakrabarti, what advice would you have for such students?
See, as you said, to take a neutral stand. If I am a student, I will try to explore, the pros and cons. So what I will be looking at is what is my cost of the total education, and who can cover my total cost, and what is the balance money I have, and who is going to cover the rest, who has got better rate of interest, who has got better tax, who can offer me a solution rather than a loan. These are the broad five things I look at, not and anything individually. So going with this, all the five, you know I see only the private sector organizations are having edge over PSU banks. This is what I take a stand on a personal note. Just to highlight, on a ICICI bank point of view, I can only tell that these are all there, but we are one stop solution where you can open your, if you're going to Canada, you can open your GIC account with us. You can take a loan, you can take a travel forex card, you can also open your NR account, you can open your father's savings account, and take preferential rates for forex. So these are the bouquet or a bundled offer what you get with ICICI Bank.
Right. And
Yeah.
Chani, how would you advise such students? How should they go about thinking which loan provider to pick?
So a typical way somebody picks out a loan provider is by seeing who's going to offer the best rate of interest. And of course, that has an important role to play. But I think apart from that, there are so many other things. Like Chakrabarti was saying, who's going to fulfill and take care of the entire cost of education, which is one. Secondly, like I was saying earlier, very, very critical, who's going to give me tax benefits? You need to check whether your loan provider will give you tax benefits. Who's going to understand me better? Because a loan provider is not just about sanctioning a loan. There are multiple universities, courses, countries, visa policies, so much that goes into consideration when we evaluating your loan. When you have a player who understands this, and I think that's where also HDFC really, Credla really came into being in saying we will be a dedicated player to education loan only because this particular segment is something that needs understanding. The more we understand the segment or the student's profile, the application, the better the chances for us to be able to give a loan. So I think these are aspects that you need to see, that does the loan provider really understand me? What am I asking for? What all will get covered? There are certain countries who need loans to be disbursed, part of it earlier, sometimes later. There is so many different permutation combinations that come into play. So I think this is important for you to consider. Another important aspect is the margin money aspect. There are financial institutions that ask for margin money, which may be as high as a 10 to 30% of the total amount, which basically means that they're asking you to put in a certain amount of money on their own and they will only fund the rest. You got to find somebody who will actually take on the entire thing and give you, try and give you the overall amount as a loan. Because that helps a lot financially as a financial decision. It helps a lot to have a loan, which is covering everything.
Right. So good. Our students are hearing two neutral perspectives. I'll
Yeah,
move
I would
forward with.
also like to add another interesting thing
Sure.
here is you've mentioned out here also about international players. So there are international players who offer education loan, and there we need to see that when you're getting a loan, which is when you say a INR loan versus a USD loan, it's important for you to for any applicant to understand how that works, because you may not have your total cost of education covered. There are international players who only cover tuition cost, and more often than not, about 30 to 40% of your total cost is your living cost. So you're actually not getting your total loan covered for that. There are no tax benefits. You may not even get funded for the entire amount. You may get funded only for the first year, and then there will be a loan reevaluation that will happen later. So you're not even going with the complete confidence of having your entire loan covered. In addition to cost that comes into play, the rate of interest, how they are calculating your loan, processing fees. So there are many, many aspects that one needs to understand when you are even considering a non-Indian loan, non-INR loan player, because those options are available and it's important to understand them fully before making that choice.
Right.
Just to add to Chandni's point on international loans, students who are actually exploring the international financials as an option also need to keep one thing in mind, that you're going to miss out the dollar rupee conversion. Traditionally every year there is a 7 to 8% depreciation. So this is one thing. You're all NRIs and you go back and you again send back money here. You invest here. For your future here. So once you miss that benefit of conversion, rupee
Okay.
depreciation.
There's also
Yeah.
an important point. The rupee depreciates
Yeah,
every year with respect to
correct.
all major Western basket of currencies.
True.
Okay, moving on to the next question, and this is for Dhaval. Dhaval, there are so many different variations, so many different countries that Indian students go out to study. Some countries like Australia require a high upfront, deposits. Others like New Zealand require showing 6 monthly bank statement. Europe, UK also requires some deposits. US requires bank statement. So there must be some variations in terms of how banks process different country cases. So can you share or highlight some? Are you kind of working out for loans for all these countries, and if so, how do you adjust to these variations?
Yeah, so we do work for loans for all the countries. As on date, we have funded students across 45 plus countries. In terms of variations, yes. So, for example, we have a full-fledged product team which kind of studies each and every country-specific requirements, and we do tailor-made solutions. For example, if someone says, "Look here, I need to show this amount pre-visa disbursement in my account," and his admit is there, and he says, "I want to show this amount," we will say, "Okay, if that is what the country's rules want, we will give him a disbursement, although it will be lean marked. So he cannot use the funds for his own personal uses. The amounts will be lean marked into the account, and then he can show the account as well as the sanction letter as well as the account balance to the consulate of the country to secure a visa. So we do have these tailor-made structures, and as I rightly pointed out before also that we offer customized solutions depending on the student, the country, and the course which is going on. For example, as Chandni pointed out, we don't ask for margin money for students who want to do this whole journey on their own. For example, a student who has GRE more than 300, why should I take his father's financial document? He is an independent person having a good academics. He wants to have the entire journey to be carried on his shoulders. For such students, we have our platinum and titanium products where we just take his COBOR or KYC papers. We don't take his income papers, and process the loan. This is the photo of ours that we put the fulcrum of the loan sanctioning process on the student and not on the collateral or what other comfort is offering. If the student course and pedigree is good, we will sanction the loan.
Okay, got it. Uh, I'll move to the next question, which is probably our last question on the set of presentation. What type of expenses are actually covered in a loan? And let me ask Chakravarti first. Chakravarti, what all cases, what kind of expenses does ICICI fund?
Yeah, what we take into consideration are the tuition fees uh, to the college, the accommodation cost, books, laptop, and also travel expenses, air tickets, and all, along with this insurance expenses as well. Because every student, university mandates to take an insurance, so we also cover the insurance cost. So it is as good as 100% of the cost.
Okay. Chandni, would the HDFC Credila have similar things or something different?
Yes. So, like I was saying earlier, we cover the entire cost, which includes tuition fee, living cost. There are other costs which come into play, like your airfare. Many often than not, there are students who say, "Why don't you include a laptop? It's mandated." So there are so many other things, books, etc., which are fairly expensive, and everything gets added on. So all of that gets covered in. In addition to that, HDFC Credila also puts together offers for students on multiple products that you need during this course. So, there are students, even before they fly out, there's a fair amount of expense that you are incurring, like on, vaccinations, or there's a fair amount of stuff that you need to carry with you, airfares, and so many things. So we actually put together offers for students for that, which helps you save up to about 50,000 rupees just on that. So that's an add-on thing. Apart from, of course, that's got nothing to do with loan. It's just an add-on thing that's given to students, but it becomes a financial benefit.
Got it. Okay, so now I'll move to any open questions that the students have. And I see some questions have come. Let me ask the first set of questions, and any panelist can actually I'm not sure which will be the right panelist, so any panelist can indicate their willingness to answer this question. The first question is from Archana the Shanbhog. What is the exposure of a loan and interest applied on them? So, Dhaval, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, so at Avance, we don't charge anything for foreclosure of loan. A student, we believe that as soon as he starts earning, he has a right to foreclose the loan and move on, and in terms of his career ahead. So there's no foreclosure charges. In fact, the foreclosure process is also very easy. We have a standard account number. As soon as the student connects, we give him his outstanding balance plus the interest due on the loan amount, and he can deposit the money in foreclosure account anytime he wants.
Okay. One other question has come from Karthik Wakse. So the question is, I've been admitted to Illinois Institute of Technology, US, as I got admission in an on-the-spot fair. Because of COVID-19, the university waived off my GRE, and I have not given my GRE, but I am facing a loan from the banks due to this reason. Isn't admission letter sufficient to apply for a loan? Um, Chandni Chakrabarti, would you like to, any one of you would like to answer this?
So ideally, what we should do is actually take this offline because we would need to understand the overall profile. It's not just about the institute. We need to check on various things. We are getting queries like these, and especially more so now about scores not being either required, and there are different permutation combinations that come into play. So we would prefer taking this offline, and there are multiple changes of processes from universities that keep happening all the time. This is just one of them. Once we understand your case fully, I'm sure we'd be able to help you with this.
Sure. Chakrabarti, same thing, or would you like to add on to something?
Yeah, it is absolutely same. It may be a subjective thing. Yeah, see, GRE is score is not mandatory. As far as our loan process is concerned, we go with the admission, and we see the case overall, not only with basis on one parameter. So I would suggest the whoever is asked the question can contact us, and we can appraise their case.
Okay, sure. So maybe we'll just
Yeah.
finish very quickly. One question has come specifically to question to Dhaval sir. Will from Pushkar Bagul, will a bad credit score of my parents affect my loan? And so maybe you've already answered this, but just quickly give another answer then.
Yeah, so as I said, we put the sanction curriculum on the student academics, but we don't ask for the borrower's financials. But yes, if there is a bad credit score of the parent, we will understand why the score is bad. If there are proper justifications saying, okay, look here, there was a credit card taken in 2001, we were not asked for the credit card, there were some charges which were not levied, and they've kind of, just put it like that, then we'll find a solution. But if there are cases of willful default by the co-borrower, we may ask for additional comforts like collateral, or we may decline the loan, depending on how the credit committee takes the case.
Okay, got it. Another question has come, which is, will there be a rise in the tuition fees due to COVID pandemic? Is it good to take a break for 1 year and then go in fall 2022, or should students go today? So it's a generic question. Any one of you would like to address this?
From
Yeah.
some information that I was recently reading, it seems to be the contrary. There are universities who are willing to give more scholarships. They're also looking at reducing the tuition fee for students. I think there will be different permutation combinations that will come across, but like we were saying earlier, the news that seems to be coming seems to be more pro students as of now. And it would vary from university to university. Why waste? I mean, as long as it's a matter of postponement, and you're sure, of course, there's a whole lot of stuff that students should evaluate. It's not just about fee. Fee is just one part of it. You should evaluate various other norms that would come into being about visa processing, employability, employment laws, all of that, how the segment is getting impacted, where the segment that you are planning to pursue your course in. We would actually encourage you to evaluate all of those things and not just the cost factor in all of this. But from what we're hearing, the cost, we've not heard of too many universities as of now increasing cost. In fact, some universities seem to be reducing on the contrary.
Right. Dhaval, did you also wanted to speak on this?
Yeah, so as Chandni spoke, I think one, don't think of postponing the decision for a few lakhs here and there. See, your career in 1 year is much more important. So that postponement by 1 year also means that your future income, you're postponing the same by another year, right? It's a competitive world. Just because there is, let's say, a 5%, which I strongly disagree. I don't think there'll be a hike personally. And as Chandni pointed, the news are more of pro student types. But let's say worst case scenario, if the university which you are intending to go hikes the fees by 5%. One, there is no assurance that they'll reduce it by 10% next year. Point number one. Generally, in education segment, the trend is always on the opposite side. People don't reduce the fees, right? Second, postponing means also losing out 1 year's income which you would have started earning early. So financially, for 1, 2, or 5% here and there, it will not make sense because the earlier you start earning, the earlier you'll be able to kind of keep as well. And there's a difference of earning between what you would have earned in India before the studies and what you'll earn abroad after the studies. And the difference is huge. For example, let's say you are an X package, the package abroad would be much higher after you have done your graduation. So personally, I think it doesn't make sense to postpone the plan unless it's for some other reason, but not for fees as such.
Right. So maybe I'll ask one last question. And this is, I'll generalize the question. Rahul R has asked a question, but I'll generalize it. They're saying that some of the information that you've shared, all of you providers have shared and enlightened the students today. Your RMs who are speaking to some of these students are quoting some different terms to some of those. Like for instance, they might say that the EMIs will start immediately post, or they might be quoting a different rate of interest. And so sometimes the students get confused in terms of whether they should, which source of information should they trust. Should they trust the RM who's speaking to them, or should they trust the information they're seeing on, say for instance, your website, or what they are hearing from you. So if they are finding some discrepancy in some of these, then what
So, see, as we mentioned, there are different factors and number of factors which go into the processing of loan. There's not no one size fits all. For example, everyone here, each panelist has given a range of interest, right? That range is subject to the student going to X country with certain academics. For example, if there is a credit weightage, let's say, as someone said, what if my parents have a bad civil track record? That may increase the rate of interest. What if he's going to a country where employability is not as per the pre-approved criteria of the financial institution? That may increase the rate of interest. What if the student himself has a default in his existing education loan, which is prepaid fully, but he has instances of default? That may also increase the rate of interest. So these factors we will also come to only once he has submitted the papers. So it's very difficult to say that, look here, we promised you 11.5% and why you did not get 11.5. But for all your GRE score was 285. That has enhanced the risk profile. Point number two, in terms of EMI, SIPI, let's say partial interest, also depends on which country, which course he's going. For example, let's say he's going to executive education and he's a working professional. At Avas, we don't offer moratorium for executive education courses. They are to be done parallelly when you're working. Or if the course is, let's say, he's going for a course in acting in Whistlewood or in acting in abroad, we may not afford because we may not offer him a moratorium because we are not sure as to, we're sure that he'll get some income, but we don't know how the trend of income. Those parameters of credit determine as to what is offered to him. And we have a qualified sales team which is more than eager to do business, help fulfill the student's aspiration. and there is an escalation matrix everywhere. So in a branch, if there is an RM, there is a location head, there is a sales manager. If the student is not convinced with the answer, he should walk into the branch, call all the websites. Our websites mention the numbers of the location heads as well, Mumbai, Pune, so on and so forth. He should call them and have the clarity, kind of get his doubts clarified.
Right. That's a very good answer. All of the panelists today are representing quite reputed, esteemed organization. There is a escalation hierarchy in each of these companies. If you are at any point in time not, or doubting what your RM is telling you, you can always escalate. You can go back to the website. You can quote them. So all those mechanisms are available. So I would like to say to the students, if they have any more questions, they can write to us at studyabroad@shiksha.com, or they could also WhatsApp us. But we've overextended our time, and I would like to thank our panelists that they've been very patient with us, um, uh, beyond the extra 26 minutes that we've taken from them. Thank you very much, Chandni, Dhaval, Chakravarti, for your time. With that, I would like to close today, and hopefully, if you have more such sessions in the future, so that representatives like yourself can come and throw light on the education loan process. Thank you very much for joining us.
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you, Shiksha team, and wishing you all the best for all the aspirants. Have a great future.
Thank you, Shiksha team.
Thank you.
Best of luck to all the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
thank
Chandani and Dhaval.
Thanks,
Bye.
Achati. Thanks,
Thank
Chandni. Bye.
Okay, have a good night.
Have a good night.
Yeah, same.
all the best. Stay safe, everyone.